Imagine a place where the desert doesn't just swallow men. It keeps them. Where the sand erases footprints, but never memories. This is the story of men who walked into a storm and never truly walked out. The French Foreign Legion has always been a brotherhood of the lost. Since 1831, it has offered a new start to those running from something. War crimes, broken lives, debts, despair. A man signs on, surrenders his past, and becomes something else. La Légion est notre patrie. The Legion is our fatherland. But even the Legion has ghosts it can't outmarch. In the vast emptiness of southern Algeria, near the ancient oasis routes once patrolled by colonial companies, sits Fort Kébir, a crumbling pre-independence outpost. Abandoned after 1962, its mud-brick walls baked under Saharan sun for decades. Officially, it's a ruin. Unofficially, it's still occupied. In early 2025, amid rising instability in the Sahel, France and Algeria quietly agreed to joint counter-terrorism exercises. A small detachment from the 2nd Foreign Infantry Regiment, about 40 legionnaires, was sent to reoccupy Fort Kébir as a forward operating base. Their mission? Train with Algerian Special Forces, patrol border wadis, monitor smuggling routes used by jihadist groups. They arrived in February. The fort's barracks, long low buildings with iron-barred windows, were cleared of sand, wired for generators, stocked with MREs and ammunition. The men joked about the 5-star accommodations. They didn't joke for long, because something was already there. Whispers in empty rooms. Footsteps on roofs during windless nights. And then, on March 12th, 2025, a haboob, a massive sandstorm, rolled in from the south. Visibility dropped to 0. Comms went dark. When the storm cleared 2 days later, half the detachment was gone. No bodies, no tracks, just empty bunks, weapons neatly racked, and one word scratched into a wall in French: Restez. Stay. What happened at Fort Kébir wasn't just a disappearance. It was something older waking up. These are their stories, from the men who were there and the ones who never left. Chapter 1. Arrival at the Forgotten Fort Corporal Elias Moreau, 2nd Foreign Infantry Regiment. Identity shielded at his request. Recorded under supervision 6 months after extraction, voice still carrying the weight of what he saw. Moreau, first person, low, accented, deliberate pacing. I enlisted in 2019, Belgian, 32. Divorce papers still warm, creditors circling. The Legion didn't ask questions. They gave me a new name, a new life. Castelnaudry broke me down, rebuilt me. Then Nimes, 2e REI. Hard marches, harder discipline. I liked it. No past, only the next order. January 20 to 25, they tapped our section for enhanced bilateral deployment. Algeria. Counter-terror liaison. We flew commercial to Algiers. Civilian clothes, no fanfare. Then military C-130 south to a dirt strip outside Ouargla. From there, 80 kilometers in VAB armoured personnel carriers. Dust choked everything. Heat pressed like a fist. We arrived at Kébir just before sunset. The fort looked pulled from an old postcard. High perimeter walls, crumbling watchtowers, iron gate chained with Algerian army padlocks. We cut the chain. Inside, a square of 4 barrack blocks around a cracked parade ground. We took the southern one, closest to the wadi for quick egress, if needed. Sand had drifted 2 feet high in the corridors. Windows boarded since '62. We cleared it methodically. Shovels, brooms, then bleach to kill whatever had nested there. First night I pulled roof watch. No moon yet. Stars burned cold and close. I scanned the wireline with NVGs. Nothing moving but heat shimmer. Then cadence, boots on gravel. Left, right, left. French drill step, old style, slow march. I froze. Parade ground below was empty. No shadows, no dust kicked up. I keyed the radio. Sergeant Chef Ruiz, you copy? Movement on the ground. Static. Then his voice, half laughing. Relax, Moreau. Old fort's grown. Wind plays tricks. Get some rack time. I didn't argue, but I stayed up until relief. Next morning, Private Larson, Danish, built like a door, came out of his bunk cursing in Danish. Deep gouges on the wooden frame above his head. 4 parallel lines, like fingernails, dragged hard. Too high for rats, too deliberate. Someone joked about desert poltergeists. We laughed. Legionnaires laugh at fear. It's how we keep it outside. But the fort watched us. We ran a light schedule first week. Morning PT on the parade ground, afternoon dry drills with the Algerian detachment. Professional guys, mostly special forces from the south. They knew the area. One of them, a captain, looked at the east barracks, still uncleared, and shook his head. Bad place, he said in French. Gin like old soldiers. We smiled politely. Gin are fairy tales. We're legionnaires. Nights were different. Week 2. Lights out 2,300. I woke at 0317. Exact time burned in. Someone whispering. Not in the room, inside my skull. My birth name, the one I buried. Flemish. No one here knew it, not even the adjutant. I sat bolt upright, barracks quiet except for snores. My locker door, padlocked, hung open. Inside, a photograph. My ex-wife, our kids. Smiling at a birthday I never attended after I left. I'd burned that picture in a trash can at Aubin the day I signed. Ashes. Gone. I stared at it, hands shaking, slammed the locker. Told no one. Told myself heatstroke, dehydration, kafar creeping in. The Legion madness. But the dreams came next. Every man in the section. Same dream. Sand pouring down your throat, filling lungs, burying you alive while voices call roll in old ranks. Présentez. Arms! Shouted from corridors that stayed empty when you checked. We started finding relics. A rusted Liebel bayonet under floorboards. A 1950s identity disc, Legionnaire Jean Leclerc, vanished on patrol, 1958. Algerian captain saw it, crossed himself. Then, March 10th. We needed spare parts for the generator. Forced the old armory door, welded shut since independence. Torch cut through. Inside, crates of MAS-36 rifles, crates still factory-oiled. And a leather-bound journal, pages brittle. Last entry, dated 12th of March, 1961. Haboob came at dusk. Watch section marched out to reinforce the north post. Never returned. Tracks ended at the barrack wall. We hear them still, marching inside the walls at night. The barracks keep them now. God help the next men who sleep here. Narrator. Moreau paused the recording there. His voice cracked. They should have radioed for extraction, burned the journal, marched out, but orders held, and the storm was coming. Chapter 2. Echoes in the Dust. Sergeant Karim Duval, section leader, 2 EREI. Moroccan-born, Legion, 12 years. His testimony, given in a quiet room at the regiment's medical centre in Nîmes, carries the calm of a man who has stared into the abyss and walked away, barely. Duval, first person, steady but edged with fatigue. I came to the Legion at 19. Casablanca streets were no place for a kid with a temper and no future. They gave me structure, a rifle, brothers who didn't care where I came from. By 2025, I was sergeant, running a section of misfits turned professionals. When they said Algeria, forward base, joint training, I thought desert again. Fine, I know sand. Kabir hit different. The moment we crossed the gate, the air felt thick, not just heat, but weight, like the fort resented us being there. While we cleared the southern barracks block first. Long rooms, high ceilings, iron bars on windows like a prison. Sand had drifted in drifts against the walls. We shoveled it out, set up folding cots, ran extension cords from the generators. Algerian partners arrived a day later, good operators, polite but distant. Their captain looked at the east block, still padlocked and dark, and muttered, "Laissez ça. Mauvais endroit. Leave it. Bad place." We smiled. Superstition. First anomalies were small, lights flickering when the Jenny was steady, radios picking up fragments of old traffic, French Morse, call signs from the 50s. We chalked it to atmospheric bounce. Then the footsteps started. Night patrols. I took one with Caporal Chef Vogel, German, ex-Bundeswehr, solid. We walked the perimeter wire under NVGs. Wind dead calm. Then boots. Cadenced. Old Legion slow march, left, right, left, deliberate, like men carrying full packs in greatcoats. Coming from the parade ground, empty. I stopped. Vogel heard it too. "Chef, you copy that?" I nodded. We swept binos. Nothing. But when I lowered them, shadows. Formation. White kepis catching phantom moonlight. They held position 10 seconds, then dissolved as a gust kicked up dust. Gone. Back in barracks, we didn't report it. What do you say? Ghost platoon on parade. Men would laugh, or worse, start believing. Then the fines. A private first class, Müller, Polish, pulled a dog tag from under his bunk during kit check. Tarnished aluminum. Légionnaire J. Leclerc, Première REI, matricule 58-4721. Porté disparu 14 mars 1958. Missing on patrol. Algerian captain saw it. Face went grey. My grandfather spoke of Leclerc. Sand took his section. They say the barracks called them back. Tension climbed. Men stopped showering alone. The shower block, communal, tiled, always damp, ran water red one morning. Not rust, a thick, metallic smell. 10 seconds, then clear. We tested pipes. Nothing. Dreams unified us in fear, every man the same. Choking on sand, lungs full, while voices call roll in archaic French. Section. Présentez arms. Waking soaked, hearts hammering. March 11th. Full moon, sky clear as glass. I couldn't sleep. Walked the corridors. Heard singing. Le Boudin. Legion march. But wrong. Off-key. Desperate, like men singing to keep sane. Coming from the east barracks. Door was locked. We'd never opened it. I turned the handle anyway. It gave. Inside. Bunks made tight. Sheets crisp. Boots polished under each cot, aligned for inspection. Wall opposite the door. Fresh scratches in plaster, deep enough to draw blood if you touched. Ils reviennent. They return. I backed out, locked it. Told no one that night. But the fort knew we'd seen. Narrator. Duval's voice drops. He rubs scarred knuckles. The echoes weren't random. They were invitations. The storm was coming, and it would answer. Chapter 3. The storm approaches Legionnaire Antonio Rossi, Italian National 2 EREI, youngest in the section at 24. His account, recorded via encrypted video link from a recovery facility in France, trembles at points. Less from fear now, more from the certainty that some things follow you home. Rossi, first person, accented, voiced tight with remembered panic. I joined in 2023. Rome streets, bad crowd, one fight too many. The Legion was escape. Training hard but fair. By 2025, I was in Algeria thinking desert patrols. Maybe see some action against smugglers, not ghosts. After Duval's night in the East Barracks, things accelerated. Sky turned brass on March 12th. No clouds, just yellow haze south. We knew Haboub building. Algerian partners warned us. Big one, stay inside. Sand eats men. We prepped. Sandblasters on windows, tarps over gear, extra water in the mess tent. Generators topped off. Sentries doubled on the walls. Comms started failing first. HF radios hissed static laced with fragments. Old French voices clipped orders from decades ago. Section 2, avancez, tempête. We laughed nervously. Atmospheric skip, someone said. But the laughter died fast. Wind rose at dusk. Not gradual. Sudden. Like someone flipped a switch. Sand hit the walls like shotgun blasts. Our visibility dropped to meters, then 0. We buttoned up in the southern barracks block. Doors barred, lights on emergency. Men gathered in the main corridor, cots pushed aside, rifles close. No one wanted to be alone. Around 0200, the banging started, not wind, deliberate. On the outer door, 3 knocks. Pause, 3 more. Morse distress? No, Legion cadence, slow, insistent. Ouvrez, c'est Leclerc, a voice shouted through the howl. Oh, clear, French, old accent, and no one outside. We checked the peep slot, nothing but swirling brown. But the knocking continued, rhythmic, patient. Sergeant-Chef Ruiz keyed the radio to Algerian detachment in their separate block. You hear that? Static. Then their captain. Negative. But our dogs won't stop barking. Something walking the wire. Inside, lights dimmed. Not flicker. Dimmed like someone turned a rheostat. Generator readout showed full power. In the shower block down the hall, communal, always cold water, pipes groaned. Water ran. Red, thick, copper smell. We shut it off. 10 seconds later, clear again. No explanation. I took watch in the corridor with Müller. We sat back to back. Then the singing. Faint at first. Le Boudin. Legionnaires know it. Marching song, blood and mud. But these voices, cracked, desperate, coming from the ceiling vents, like men singing buried alive. At 0400, the first sentry vanished. Caporal Vogel on the roof post. Relief came up. His post empty. Rifle leaning against the parapet. Magazine full. No blood, no tracks, in the sand, drift, on the stairs. Just gone. We searched the roof in pairs. Wind screaming. Nothing. Morning march. 13th. Storm still raging. On sky black-brown. We lost power intermittently. Candles, headlamps. Men whispered. They called roll. He answered. No one slept. I saw him then. In the corridor mirror. Old cracked glass from 62. Reflection not mine. Legionnaire in faded greatcoat, white kepi sand scoured. Face half gone, like blasted away. Eyes black pits. He raised a hand, pointed at me, mouth moved. Tontour. Your turn. I spun. Empty hall. But the mirror showed him still. Watching. Narrator. Rossi stops. Breathes hard. The storm wasn't just weather. It was cover. Chapter 4. Vanishing in formation. The storm did not relent. From March 13th into the 14th, Fort Kabir became an island in a sea of sand. Visibility never exceeded 5 meters. Power flickered like a dying heartbeat. The 21 remaining legionnaires huddled in the southern barracks block, the only part they had fully occupied and cleared. Doors barricaded with cots and ammo crates, rifles loaded, safeties off. No one spoke above a whisper. What was left to say? Legionnaire Elias Moreau resumes his testimony here, voice lower, words slower, as if recounting it drains him still. Moreau, first person, hoarse, measured. By midday, March 13th, the wind was a living thing, screaming, clawing at the walls. Sand forced through every crack, coating teeth, eyes, lungs. We rotated short watches at the barred windows, peering into brown nothing. No Algerian detachment responded on radio. Their block was 200 meters across the parade ground. Might as well have been on the moon. Around 1500, the marching returned. Not outside, inside. Down the main corridor, and past the shower block, looping back. Slow, deliberate, French drill cadence. Left, right, left. Boots on concrete. We could feel the vibration through the floor. Sergeant Chef Ruiz posted 2 men at each end of the hall, Vogel's relief shift and Muller. They reported the same, empty corridor, but the sound kept coming. Closer each circuit. At 1700, the lights failed for good. Generator buried under sand ingress, we later learned. Headlamps only. Red lens filters to preserve night vision. Shadows stretched long and wrong. Then the roll call began. Not over radio, not whispered. Clear, parade ground loud, echoing off the high ceiling like a sergeant major addressing troops on the square. Section, appel! Silence. Then names. Old names. Leclerc. Gagne. Thibault. Men missing since the 50s and 60s. Each name answered by a single présent. Sharp, automatic. From different corners of the barracks, different voices, some hoarse, some young. All legion. We froze. No one moved. Ruiz whispered, "Don't answer. Whatever you do, don't answer." But the list kept going. Newer names appeared. Our names. Moreau! I felt it in my chest, like someone had hooked my ribs and pulled. My mouth opened before I could stop it. Présent, I said. Quiet, barely audible. But it came out. The marching stopped. Then it resumed. Faster. Converging on our position. We barricaded tighter, pushed every heavy thing we had against the double doors to the corridor. Tables, footlockers, water jerry cans. Men sat with backs to the wall, rifles trained on the entrance. No one slept. No one could. At 0200 March 14th, the doors rattled. Not wind. Hands. Many hands. Our palms slapping wood in unison, and then shoulders. The whole frame shook. Dust sifted from the ceiling. Someone, Larsen, started praying in Danish. Quiet, repetitive. The slapping stopped. A voice, calm, almost gentle, came through the crack under the door. Ouvrez, mes frères. L'inspection est finie. Rentrez au quartier. Open, brothers. Inspection is over. Return to quarters. Ruiz stood, face pale, under the red light. No one moves. But Private Schmidt, German, quiet kid, stood anyway, eyes wide, unfocused. "They're calling me," he said. "I have to go." He walked to the barricade like he was sleepwalking. We grabbed him, held him down. He fought, hard, silent tears, kept whispering, "I answered, I answered." Then the doors burst inward, not exploded, just opened. Barricade slid aside like it weighed nothing. Sand poured in, knee-deep in seconds, and with it, shapes, legionnaires, old uniforms, faded horizon blue greatcoats, white kepis crusted with decades of dust. faces half erased by wind and time. They formed ranks in the doorway. Perfect alignment. Eyes fixed forward. They didn't attack. They waited. One stepped forward. Tall, sand-blasted features still recognizable from the old journal photo. Leclerc. He saluted. Crisp. Precise. Section présente, he said. We have room for 21 more. No one fired. Rifles stayed up. Fingers frozen on triggers. You don't shoot ghosts. Or maybe you can't. They began calling roll again. One by one, men stood. Some crying, some calm. Walking toward the formation like it was the most natural thing in the world. Larsen, Muller, Schmidt, 3 others whose names I still can't speak aloud. They joined the ranks. The ghosts closed around them, turned as one, marched back into the corridor, into the storm. We survivors, maybe 12 left, barricaded again with what remained. The doors resealed themselves. Sand stopped flowing, marching faded. Dawn came. Storm eased just enough to see shapes outside the wire. Figures in white kepis standing motionless, waiting. We didn't go out. We waited for extraction. We never saw the missing again. Not in the flesh. Narrator. Moreau's recording ends there. He has not returned to desert postings. The barracks had taken their toll, not through violence, through invitation, through belonging. The storm lifted fully by midday, March 14th, but half the section never marched out. Chapter 5. The barracks claim their own. By the morning of March 14th, 2025, the haboob had finally begun to thin. The sky remained the colour of old brass, but the wind dropped from a howl to a low moan. Visibility crept back to a few hundred meters, enough to see the perimeter wire again, enough to see that nothing moved beyond it except drifting sand. Inside the southern barracks block, 12 legionnaires remained. 12 out of 43. The others had simply answered. Walked into formation, marched away into the storm with shapes that should not have been there. No screams, no struggle, just quiet obedience. The survivors did not speak of it at first. They moved like men under water, slow, mechanical, clearing sand from doorways, checking weapons, counting heads again and again, as if the missing might reappear if they looked hard enough. Sergeant Karim Duval, the last-ranking non-com in the block, takes up the account here. His voice, even months later, carries the flat exhaustion of command that failed to protect its own. Duval, first person, quiet, deliberate. We waited until 1100 before risking the roof. I took Moreau and 2 others. We climbed the external ladder. Sand had half buried the bottom rungs. Up top, the world looked scrubbed clean, dunes reshaped, no tracks, no wreckage. Just the Algerian block across the parade ground, doors shut, no smoke from their chimney pipe. We signalled with a flare. No response. Radio still dead. We assumed the worst. Back inside, we inventoried what was left. 21 bunks empty. Kit folded neatly, boots aligned, rifles racked, dog tags placed on pillows like last night's stand-down. One bunk had a single word carved into the headboard with a bayonet tip. Restes. Fresh cuts. Plaster dust still white on the floor. We didn't touch anything. At 1400 we heard engines. Distant at first, then closer. Algerian Gaz Tiger armoured vehicles rolling in from the north approach. Their special forces platoon, reinforced, cautious. They breached the main gate with bolt cutters. We met them on the parade ground, hands up, weapons slung. No one wanted friendly fire. Their captain, same one who'd warned us about the East Bloc, looked at our faces and understood before we spoke. He crossed himself. Combien? How many? Douze, I told him. 12. He nodded once. No questions. His men swept the barracks, block room by room. Found nothing alive, no bodies. Just the relics we'd already seen. The old journal in the armory, the dog tags, the scratches. They photographed everything. Silently. One of their sergeants stopped at the east barracks door, the one we'd opened on the 11th. He touched the handle, then pulled back like it burned. Non, he said, on laisse fermer. We leave it closed. They extracted us that afternoon, loaded into the Tigers. Drove north to the airstrip near Ouagla. C-130 waiting, engines turning. No debrief on the ground. Just a medic checking vitals. IV fluids, blankets. We flew direct to Algiers, then onward to France under blackout. Official report filed 2 weeks later. Detachment lost in severe meteorological event. Presumed deceased due to environmental exposure. No recoverable remains. Standard wording. Families notified with the usual letters. The Legion does not elaborate on ghosts. I went back to Nimes. Medical leave, psych eval. They called it acute stress reaction. ARC-FAR aggravated by isolation. Pills. Therapy. I nodded. Took the meds. But at night the barracks still calls. I dream of the corridor, the marching, the roll call. My name comes up again. I feel the pull in my chest. Présent, my mouth wants to say. I wake choking on sand that isn't there. Moreau dreams the same. Rossi, too. The 12 of us don't talk about it openly. But we know. We check mirrors. We avoid old stone buildings. We don't sleep with lights off. The fort stands. Algerian forces sealed it after we left. Barbed wire tripled. Signs in Arabic and French. Zone militaire. Accès interdit. Military zone. Entry forbidden. Satellite imagery shows sand drifting back in, covering the parade ground, bearing the southern block to the windowsills again. But sometimes, on clear nights, I'd pilots flying the Ouagla to Tamanrasset route report lights in the ruins, dim, yellow, like lantern glow from barred windows. And once a Bedouin herder passing near the wadi claimed he heard singing. Le Boudin. Faint. Carried on the wind. He did not go closer. The barracks claimed their own. Not through force, through memory, through belonging, through the promise the Legion makes to every man who signs. You will never be abandoned, even if it means never leaving. Narrator. The 12 survivors carry Fort Kabir with them, not as a scar, as a residence, a place they can still be called back to. The storm passed, the men did not, and the desert keeps its watch. Chapter 6. The Call That Never Ends. The official story closed in April 2025. File stamped. Families given folded flags or empty coffins. The French Foreign Legion issued no press release. Algeria issued none. Fort Kabir returned to silence. Officially a restricted military zone. Unofficially a place pilots now avoid on night flights. But silence is never absolute in the desert. What follows comes from the fragmented testimonies of the 12 survivors, collected in scattered sessions over the following months. They do not speak as a group. They do not gather. Yet their accounts converge on one unbearable truth. The barracks did not release them when they left. Some part of them stayed behind. Or something followed. Legionnaire Antonio Rossi, the youngest of the survivors, recorded this segment alone in a small apartment outside Avignon. His voice is softer now, almost resigned. Rossi, first person, quiet, halting. I was back in France by May. Civilian clothes feel wrong after so long in uniform. I rented a place near the river. Quiet street, no barracks, no sand. Thought distance would help. First week, Nothing. Then the dreams started again. Same as Kabir. Sand in my throat, roll call echoing, but now the voices are closer. They know my new address. They call me by the name I enlisted under, not the old one. Precise. Patient. I wake up at 0317 every night. Same time I first heard the whisper in the barracks. My phone shows no missed calls, no notifications. But the screen lights up by itself. Static image. A white kepi floating in brown haze. I stopped sleeping with lights off. One morning I found sand in my bed. Fine, red Sahara grit. Not much. Enough to write a single word on the sheet with my finger. Présent. I swept it away. It came back the next night. Same word. I told no one at first. The Legion doctors already have me on record as combat stress. I didn't want more labels. Then the knock started. Not loud. 3 soft raps on the apartment door at 0200. Legion cadence. I never open. I sit with my back to the wall, pistol in hand. Civilian license, nothing military. The knocks stop after 10 minutes. Always 10. Last month I drove south to visit my sister near Marseille. Stopped at a rest area. Went inside for coffee. When I came back, the car windows were fogged despite the heat. Someone had written on the inside glass with a finger. Tontour. Your turn. Same handwriting as the mirror at Kabir. I cleaned it. Drove faster. Moreau has it worse. He called me once, middle of the night, voice shaking. Said he woke to find his old Legion photo on the nightstand, and the one he burned in Aubagne years ago. Not a copy, the original. Edges still charred. He asked if I ever feel it, the pull, like a hook behind the sternum. Gentle tug when you're alone, like someone saying, come home. I do. Every day. Duval doesn't answer calls anymore. Last message he sent the group chat, 3 words. It's louder here. No location, no follow-up. We don't use that chat anymore. The Algerian captain who extracted us, he reached out once through back channels. Said his unit lost 2 men on follow-up patrol near Kabir 6 weeks after we left. They went to check the East Barracks block, found the door open again. Inside, 12 fresh bunks made tight, boots polished, sheets crisp, no dust. As if waiting for inspection. They sealed it with concrete, welded steel plates over the windows. 2 nights later, the concrete cracked. Not from heat, from inside. He didn't say more, just ended the message. Ne revenez pas. Don't come back. I haven't told the others about the sand that keeps appearing in my shoes, or the faint smell of oiled rifle metal in my closet, or how, when I walk past old stone buildings, I sometimes hear marching behind me. Faint, but unmistakable. Left. Right. Left. I don't look back, because I know who's there. They're not angry. They're not vengeful. They're waiting. Patient. Like brothers who promised never to leave anyone behind, and they mean it, even if it means taking you with them. Narrator. Rossi's recording cuts off abruptly. No goodbye. Just silence. The 12 survivors do not speak publicly. Most have left active service. Medical discharge, quiet resignation, early retirement. They live scattered lives. Yet the pattern holds. On sand in unexpected places. Knocks at precise hours. Mirrors that show the wrong reflection for a heartbeat. A pull in the chest when the wind rises from the south. Fort Kabir remains sealed. But barracks built of mud and memory do not need open doors to invite guests. They simply call. And some men, once they have answered once, never truly stop answering. The Legion teaches that no man is left behind. At Kabir, that promise was kept. Chapter 7. The unfinished roll, called a calendar, has turned. It is now February 16th, 2026. Almost 1 full year since the Haboob swallowed half a section at Fort Kibir. The world has moved on. New deployments, new recruits under the white kepi, new headlines from the Sahel. But for the 12 who walked out of those barracks, time does not behave the same way. The call has not stopped. It has only changed frequency. What you are about to hear is not one voice. It is a composite. Fragments from encrypted messages, late-night voicemails, anonymous forum posts on closed veteran channels, and one final, halting video recording sent to a trusted former adjutant. None of the survivors consented to public release. Their words are presented here with identities shielded as they requested, because some stories are not finished telling themselves. Anonymous Survivor 1. Former Sergeant Duval, voice distorted, background wind, audible even indoors. It started small, a sand grain on my pillow in Nimes. Then more. By December, I had to vacuum the bedroom every morning. Always the same red Sahara dust. No open windows, no trips south. Just there. I stopped fighting it. One night I left a sheet of paper on the desk, and in the morning a single line in block capitals I don't recognize as my own handwriting. Appel incomplete. Roll call incomplete. I burned the paper. Ashes in the sink. Next night, same words appeared on the mirror in condensation. Room cold, no shower running. I don't sleep much anymore. Anonymous Survivor 2. Legionnaire Moreau. The hook in the chest never leaves. Not pain, not fear, just insistence. Like a brother tapping your shoulder saying, "Come on, we're late for formation." I went to Castelnaudary last autumn. Thought seeing the training grounds might ground me, or walked the old parade square at dusk. Heard it then. Clear as if they were 20 meters away. Cadenced boots. Slow march. White kepis catching the last light. I turned. Empty square. But when I looked back at my shadow on the gravel, it wasn't alone. Another shadow beside it. Taller, greatcoat silhouette, white kepi outline, standing at attention. I ran. Didn't stop until I reached the car. The shadow stayed behind, waiting. Anonymous Survivor 3, Legionnaire Rossi. I'd tried medication, therapy, even confession, though I'm not religious anymore. The priest listened, said, "Some souls are bound by oath." Then he asked if I had ever formally requested release from my contract. I laughed. Bitter. The Legion contract ends when you die, or when they discharge you. No clause for ghosts. Last week I found an old kepi in my closet. Not mine. Faded, sand-crusted band. Inside the sweatband, stitched name, Leclerc. I didn't buy it. Didn't steal it. It just arrived. I keep it in a locked drawer now. Sometimes at night I hear fabric rustle, unlike someone adjusting it on their head. Anonymous Survivor 4. Group voicemail fragment, multiple voices overlapping. Saw lights again last night. From the south window, yellow, like oil lamps. My son asked why I salute empty rooms. The dog won't go near the basement door, growls at nothing. I answered présent in my sleep. Wife recorded it. My voice, not mine. We're down to 11 now. One stopped answering his phone 3 weeks ago. His apartment was empty, bed made, boots polished, kepi on the pillow. Narrator. The 11th survivor vanished without trace on January 29th, 2026. No note, no sign of struggle. Landlord reported the room smelled faintly of oiled metal and desert wind. On the wall above the bed, scratched lightly into plaster. Section complete. Section complete. The remaining 11 do not speak of him. They know where he went. They feel the roll call drawing nearer. Each day the tug strengthens. Each night the marching circles a little closer. Fort Kibir is sealed. Concrete, steel, signs. Yet satellite passes show anomalies. Faint thermal blooms in the southern barracks block on moonless nights. Small human-shaped heat signatures. Standing in formation. Waiting, Algerian patrols no longer approach within 2 kilometers. Their radios pick up static shaped like voices. Old French. Calling names. The Legion has not reoccupied the site. Orders are clear. Avoid. Forget. But memory is stubborn. And oaths, once given, are iron. The 12 became 11. Soon, perhaps 10. 9. Until the roll is complete. Until every man who slept in those barracks answers one final time. Not out of fear. Not out of force. Out of belonging. Because the Legion promised no man left behind. And at Fort Kibir that promise is kept. Not for a tour of duty, not for a career. For eternity. Narrator. If you serve or have served, listen carefully the next time the wind rises from the south. Listen for the cadence. Listen for your name. And if you hear it, don't answer. Not yet.